This podcast uses AI-generated content. All information is for general purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or regulatory advice. Listeners should verify information independently and consult qualified professionals for personalized guidance. Welcome to the Luxembourg Fundcast. So when you think about global finance, Luxembourg really stands out, doesn't it? It's known everywhere for stability, sophisticated regulation, that cross-border expertise.
Absolutely, a real powerhouse. But right at the core of it all is the corporate director. And, that role, it's undergone a massive transformation.
Massive how?
Well, it used to be perhaps more about prestige. Now, it's incredibly complex. There's intense scrutiny, real personal liability involved. A director today isn't just overseeing things. They have to be a strategist, a really sharp risk manager, understand the regulations inside out.
A regulatory savant, you could say.
Exactly. And increasingly, they're guarding both the financial and the non-financial side of things. So our mission in this deep dive is really to, dissect the whole life cycle, the whole ecosystem of a director's mandate here in the Grand Duchy. Give you a definitive guide.
Okay, so a definitive guide. What does that mean for you, our listeners?
Yeah.
Well, in this deep dive, we're going to break down the whole governance structure, right? From the old foundational laws to the latest regulatory changes.
We'll get into the weeds of the mandate agreement itself, too. Clause by clause, look at negotiation, costs, timelines, all that practical stuff.
Right. And we'll also explore why Luxembourg's approach, which is pretty rigorous, is actually seen as a global benchmark.
But yeah.
And then, looking ahead, what's coming? Sustainability, digital resilience. These are big shifts.
Huge shifts.
So to kind of crystallize this, we've got two key takeaways for you. First one, those stringent rules from the CSSF, that's the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier, on substance, on capacity, especially under their big circular 18698. They're not suggestions anymore. They are hard requirements.
The days of just, collecting mandates casually, that's over. It's all about dedicated professional directors now.
Definitely. And the second takeaway, look out for non-financial risk. It's dominating the regulatory horizon. We're talking environmental, social, and governance, ESG, and digital operational resilience.
Yes, the EU's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and the Digital Operational Resilience Act, DORA. These aren't just box-ticking exercises.
No, they bring new direct responsibilities for the board, things that need immediate strategic thought, and probably new skills around the boardroom table.
To really get a handle on the director's mandate today, you've got to appreciate the legal structure it sits within. Luxembourg's framework is, it's this interesting mix, isn't it?
How so?
You've got this bedrock of old legal tradition, gives you incredible stability. But layered on top is this very modern, EU-driven regulatory push that keeps it relevant, competitive. It's that blend, the old and the new, that really defines it.
Okay, so let's talk about that bedrock first. The law of 1915. Why does a law that's over a century old still provide such stability and attract international investors?
Well, the Law of 10, August 1915, on commercial companies, as it's been amended over the years, it sets down fundamental principles that are still incredibly powerful. For the most common structure, the public limited company, or Société Anonyme, the SA,
right.
It gives the board of directors the widest possible powers to act for the company. Within its corporate object, of course, it's a broad mandate, gives them operational freedom, but with clear legal lines.
And how are they appointed? And for how long?
They're appointed by the general meeting of shareholders. The term can't be more than 6 years, though they can be reelected, naturally. And crucially, it's a collective body. Meaning directors share joint and several liability. If there are damages from breaking the company law or the company's own articles, they're collectively responsible. You can't just sit back passively. You're accountable for what the whole board does.
That's a significant point.
It is. And, while the single board, the one-tier structure, is very common, the 1915 law also allows for a two-tier structure.
Management board and supervisory board.
Exactly. Management board handles the day-to-day, supervisory board oversees them. This can be really useful for larger, more complex outfits, gives clearer accountability, separates strategy from execution, essentially. So there's flexibility there to tailor the governance.
So that's the stable foundation. But you mentioned modernizations. Luxembourg isn't standing still. What are some recent examples of how the framework's being updated?
No, definitely not standing still. It's quite strategic, really. Aimed at removing friction for global business, building frameworks for growth. Take the recent transposition of the EU's Mobility Directive.
Bill 8053. Adopted early 2025.
That's the one. It updates the 1915 law, harmonizing rules for cross-border conversions, mergers, divisions across the EU. For Luxembourg, where almost everything is cross-border, this is huge. It streamlines those complex restructurings that happen all the time in fund life cycles. Big impact on board decisions, makes things more efficient.
And technology. Fintech is big in Luxembourg, too.
Absolutely. The blockchain freebie law that came in end of December 2024, law of December 2024, it strengthens the legal setup for using distributed ledger technology, DLT, for securities.
Okay.
And what's new for governance there is this role of a control agent, someone who manages and verifies securities accounts using DLT. So if you're on the board of a company issuing these DLT securities, you've got a new tech-focused counterparty to oversee. Adds a new dimension.
Interesting. And how do these national laws fit with the bigger EU picture? Things like AIFMD, UCIDXE.
They're tightly woven together. These national laws don't exist in a vacuum. EU directives like the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive, AIFMD, the Undertakings for Collective Investment in Transferable Securities, UCITS Directive, the Markets in Financial Instruments Directive, MiFID II. They set the baseline for governance, risk, transparency. Luxembourg then implements these and often, frankly, enhances them. This constant integration ensures Luxembourg stays fully compliant, fully connected within the EU single market, which is vital for that EU passport funds want.
That integration is clearly key. But beyond the pure regulations, what gives Luxembourg that edge as a global governance hub? What's the unique selling proposition?
It's a few things working together, really. It's this combination that attracts that serious long-term capital and builds trust. First, you've got this proactive and credible regulatory environment.
It's the CSSF being active, you mean?
Very active. Look at the fines over 10 million euros between 2023 and 2024 just for AML issues. That sends a strong message. It builds the reputation, gives investors confidence, especially institutional ones focused on risk. It's like a stamp of quality.
Okay, what else?
Then there's the EU passport. We touched on it. Because governance is harmonized with AIFMD, UCITS, etc., a Luxembourg fund can be marketed across the whole EU easily. Unmatched market access.
Yes.
Also, the high standards have created this amazing, sophisticated ecosystem of expertise. Top-tier law firms, auditors, advisory firms, corporate service providers. They're all here, highly specialized, makes navigating the complexity much easier for managers.
So the support network is strong.
Very. And underpinning all this is exceptional stability. You've got the AAA credit rating, stable politics, reliable legal system, predictability, investors value that highly, and good governance is the bedrock of it.
Right.
And finally, it's rigor with flexibility. Luxembourg offers a whole toolkit of fund vehicles, highly regulated UCITS, more flexible RAIs, different company forms like the SA or the popular SCSP, the Société en Commandite Spéciale.
The special limited partnership.
Exactly, and the governance rules are applied proportionately. So the framework isn't just a burden, it's actually a commercial asset.
Let's switch gears slightly. VAT on directors' fees. That used to be a standard 70% cost, right?
Yeah.
But there was a big EU court ruling, and Luxembourg's now adopted that. What's the practical impact?
Oh, this is a really significant development, a real game changer for how remuneration is structured. Yes, historically, 17% VAT on top of the fee added quite a bit to the cost.
But not anymore.
Not necessarily. The Court of Justice of the European Union, the CJEU, ruled on December 21st, 2023. Then the Luxembourg District Court applied it locally on November 22nd, 2024. And the final confirmation came from the VAT authorities in their circular AED 781-2 on December 11th, 2024.
Okay, so what's the new rule?
The bottom line is, if a director isn't acting independently, which essentially means they don't bear personal economic risk for their role, they're not considered a taxable person for VAT.
So no VAT?
In many cases, yes. It effectively cuts the gross cost of that directorship by 17%, which, makes roles more attractive and definitely feeds into current fee negotiations.
And what about past VAT payment?
Good point. They set up a process to claim back VAT paid in previous years. There's a deadline, though, July 1st, 2025, for claims going back to the 2019 tax year. So definitely something for directors and companies to look into quickly. A practical win all around.
Okay. Understanding the VAT shift is important context. Now let's dive into the director's mandate agreement itself. You said it's become much more than just an appointment letter. It's a complex contract, heavily shaped by the CSSF.
Absolutely. It's the core document. And you need to remember, it's typically not an employment contract. The director is usually an agent of the company. A well-drafted agreement brings clarity, manages expectations. It's vital for good governance. Shall we walk through the key clauses?
Yes, let's do that. What should people look out for?
Okay, first, parties and appointment. Seems basic, but it identifies the company, the director. If the director is a company itself, a corporate director, you must name a permanent representative, an actual person who carries the same civil liabilities. And the formal appointment comes from the shareholders' general meeting.
Got it. Then term length.
Right, term and termination. For an SA, max 6 years, but re-election is fine. Now, shareholders can remove a director ad nutum.
Ad nutum.
Means at will, basically, without needing to show cause. But the agreement should cover the director's side how they resign. Usually requires reasonable notice for a smooth handover.
Makes sense. What's next?
The scope of duties and powers. This is really the heart of it. It lays out those fiduciary duties, act in good faith, with due care, diligence, always in the company's best interest. But it's more than just showing up to meetings now.
Because of the CSSF's focus.
Exactly. They expect active oversight, demonstrable engagement, strategy, risk management. If you're on specific board committees, that needs detailing here, too.
Okay. Conflicts of interest. Always a hot topic.
Crucial. The Conflicts of Interest Clause mainly reinforces the 1915 law. You must declare any direct or indirect financial interest in a transaction the board is considering, and then you have to sit out the discussion and the vote. Not doing that. Serious trouble.
Confidentiality. Standard stuff.
Pretty standard, yes. The confidentiality clause binds the director to keep non-public info secret, even after they leave the board.
Right. Now, the big one, liability, indemnification, insurance.
Absolutely paramount. Liability, indemnification, and D&O insurance. Directors face real personal risk, civil and criminal. The agreement will usually say the company indemnifies the director as much as the law allows. But the key part is confirming comprehensive directors and officers' D&O liability insurance.
What should directors check there?
Scrutinize it. What are the coverage limits? Are they adequate? What's excluded? Are the procedures for claiming indemnification clear? We often see issues with insufficient limits, exclusions for certain claim types, or just vagueness on how indemnification works in practice. You need clarity here.
Definitely sounds critical.
And finally,
governing law and jurisdiction. Provide certainty. It will always specify Luxembourg law and that Luxembourg courts have exclusive jurisdiction if disputes arise. So the agreement sets the terms. But you mentioned the CSSF really shapes the reality, especially for investment fund managers, IFMs. How exactly have they professionalized the director role? What are those hard rules directors need to know?
They've really moved things forward. It's not just about principles now. It's concrete, quantifiable rules on substance and suitability. That's what's professionalized the role. They've set objective limits on capacity, demand rigorous proof of suitability. It's created a market focused on quality, dedication.
Which probably means it's more competitive, maybe more expensive to find good independent directors.
Often, yes. It's less about who you know, more about what you know, and whether you genuinely have the capacity. It's a merit-based, capacity-based professional engagement now.
And the main tool for this is Circular 18698.
That's the one. It lays out key rules on capacity and time commitment. First, the 20 mandate rule. An individual can't hold more than 20 directorships in total. That includes regulated firms, operational companies, everything.
20 total, okay.
Second, the 1,920-hour rule. Your total estimated professional time commitment across all your professional activities, not just directorships, can exceed 1,920 hours a year.
Which works out to?
About 240 standard 8-hour working days.
And the CSSF checks this?
Oh, yes. When you apply for approval for a new director, they have to submit a detailed list of all current mandates and calculate their total time commitment. You might be able to count multiple mandates in the same group as one, but you need a very clear justification for that. So if you're a director, you better be tracking your time and mandates accurately.
That's quite specific. What about the IFM itself? Substance requirements there?
Yes, the circular hits that too. An IFM needs at least 2 conducting officers full-time, and generally they need to be resident here in Luxembourg or in the nearby greater region. Ensures the real mind in management is physically present for supervision.
And suitability checks. How deep do they go?
Pretty deep. Every proposed director goes through a rigorous suitability assessment. Circular 18698 and another one, CSSF Circular 20758, point to joint guidelines from the European Banking Authority, EBA, and the European Securities and Markets Authority, ESMA.
So what do you need to submit?
A comprehensive file. Proof of good repute, criminal record checks, things like that. Evidence of knowledge, skills, professional experience. The CSSF looks at the individual, but also the board collectively. They want diversity of thought, people who can challenge management, avoid that groupthink. It's a key part of modern governance checks.
You mentioned negotiating the mandate goes beyond just the fee.
Right.
What are some of those other, perhaps less obvious points that directors and companies are really focusing on now? And what about overall costs and timelines?
Well, from the director's side, yes, the fee matters, but also that precise scope of duties is key. How much time is really expected? Because as we said, the CSSF is watching that 19-20-hour limit.
Yeah.
And critically, the D&O insurance. What exactly does it cover? What are the exclusions? Limits. That's a huge negotiating point. For the company, it's about getting the right expertise, ensuring independence, but also making sure the pay is justifiable, aligns with the market, attracting top talent, basically.
And what are the market trends for pay? You mentioned professionalization, driving value up.
It certainly seems so. That PCIL 2024 Luxembourg Fund Governance Survey showed a definite uptick. 38% of board members earning between 40,000 euros and over 100,000 euros annually now. That was only 24% back in 2022.
Wow, quite a jump.
It is. And for the big supermancos, nobody earns less than 20,000 euros and 15% are over 100,000 euros a year. Shows the value placed on qualified, committed directors.
And legal fees for sorting all this out.
Usually based on hourly rates, depends on the fund's complexity, regulatory status, how senior the director is, what they're asking for in the negotiation.
Okay, so putting it all together, appointing a director, what are the typical costs and how long does it take?
You definitely need to plan. Costs will include legal fees for drafting, negotiating, maybe notary fees if you need to change the company's articles, filing fees with the LBR, the Luxembourg Business Registers for the RCS, Registre de Commerce et des Sociétés Civiles.
The trading company's register?
Exactly. And if you need a resident Luxembourg director, packages for that service might start around, say, 5,200 euros a year for a basic setup.
Then the timeline. What are the stages?
First is decision and selection. Board or shareholders decide, then find and vet candidates. Then shareholder approval. Need that formal general meeting vote. Notice periods vary, maybe 15 days for unlisted PLCs, 8 for registered shares. Then the big one for regulated firms, CSSF approval.
That's the potential bottleneck.
It can be. You need to submit the full suitability file before the appointment is effective. And getting the CSSF's non-objection can take weeks, sometimes months. You need to factor that in.
Yeah.
Once you have all approvals, it's execution and filing. Sign the mandate, file with the RCS within 1 month.
Okay. Anything else new on the admin side?
Yes, the LNIN requirement. Started November 12th, 2024. Any person registered with the RCS, including new directors, needs a Luxembourg National Identification Number, the matricule, or LNIN.
So if you're an incoming director from abroad,
You'll need to apply for one. Provide personal data, certified documents to the LBR. It's an extra administrative step, but crucial. Eventually, filings will get blocked without it, so build that into your timeline too.
it feels like the director's role is hitting another major turning point. Governance focus shifting beyond just finance to these non-financial risks. What's the impact on fiduciary duty? What should boards be doing now?
It's a fundamental shift, you're right. Fiduciary duty is expanding. It's not just about protecting financial assets anymore. Boards are now clearly responsible for safeguarding the company's digital backbone, its social license, its environmental impact. It demands new skills, new strategies, a new mindset, frankly.
So top of the list, ESG.
Definitely. The ESG imperative. It's gone from niche to necessity. Central to this is the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD. Yes, there's that 2-year delay thanks to the EU's Stop the Clock move, and Luxembourg adjusted its draft bill 8370 in May 2025 to match.
But it's coming.
Absolutely inevitable. And boards will be directly on the hook for the accuracy, completeness, auditability of extensive ESG data, carbon emissions, human rights in the supply chain. You name it. You need solid systems, clear oversight right now.
And what about preventing greenwashing? Funds claiming ESG credentials.
Ah, yes. The ESMA guidelines on fund names using ESG or sustainability terms, effective since May 2025. They impose strict measurable criteria. If you call your fund sustainable, for example, you need at least 80% of the portfolio meeting E or S characteristics and over 50% in actual sustainable investments under the SFDR definition, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation.
So the board has to continuously check that.
Exactly. Ongoing oversight responsibility. Make sure the label matches reality.
Okay, ESG is one major front. The other you mentioned was digital.
Yes, the digital fortress. We're talking about DORE, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, fully applicable across the EU since January 17th, 2025. It sets up a binding framework for managing ICT risk information and communication technology risk in finance.
So if you're a director sitting on a board right now, what's the number one thing you should be pushing for regarding DORE? Where's the biggest potential blind spot?
Great question. The ultimate responsibility for digital resilience now rests squarely with the board. You have to approve, oversee the whole ICT risk management framework. You need to be involved when major ICT incidents happen. Those have to be reported to the CSSF via their eDesk portal, by the way. And you need to ensure really thorough due diligence on your critical third-party tech providers.
The third parties. Is that the blind spot?
Often, yes. There can be an assumption that the providers have it all under control. DORA demands the board ensures that rigorous due diligence happens. It's a shift from just delegating IT oversight to direct strategic board engagement in a very technical, fast-moving area.
And the CSF is watching this space closely.
Very closely. They've flagged both climate environmental risks and governance and/or ACT risk as top supervisory priorities for 2024 and 2025. They're looking at remuneration policies too, checking consistency with sustainability risks. Expect inspections. The message is clear. The future demands broader, more sophisticated skills from every director.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive into Luxembourg corporate governance, let's just quickly circle back to those essential points. The key takeaways for directors, managers, investors. First, to recap takeaway 1, the CSSS rules on director capacity, they're real, they're measurable. Those limits on mandates, on working hours via Circular 1C698. Every director needs to justify their time, prove commitment. Passive oversight just doesn't cut it anymore. Active, demonstrable engagement is the required standard. And recap number 2. The future of governance is here. Think ESG and DORA boards are now directly responsible for managing sustainability risks and digital resilience. It's a massive expansion of traditional duties. Needs new skills, constant attention.
Look, the demands on directors in Luxembourg are undoubtedly greater than ever. More responsibility, broader oversight, brighter scrutiny, no question. But, and this is the crucial point, it's exactly this challenging environment that makes Luxembourg strong. Because the framework, though demanding, provides clarity, it provides rigor, it provides predictability. These are essential for operating successfully on a global stage. So, for those who are genuinely committed to high standards, who are ready to tackle these complexities, and who actually see robust regulation as a benchmark for quality, well, for them, Luxembourg remains the premier choice, the top jurisdiction for global fund governance. What stands out to you most as we look ahead?
This podcast uses AI-generated content. All information is for general purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or regulatory advice. Listeners should verify information independently and consult qualified professionals for personalized guidance. Hit that like and subscribe button. It was the Luxembourg Fundcast for you today.